One of our subscribers asked me to demonstrate the 6 chord principles of bebop over a jazz standard. We're going to work on the tune There Will Never Be Another You. If you're not familiar with the tune, it goes like this. The first core principle of bebop is that it's based on 8th note swing. Take a look at the sheet music. What you want to do is accent the offbeats. And the first note is a little bit longer than the second note. That's what's going to create good swing. And to help with swing rhythms, it's important for the pianist to think about comping on the and of 4 and the and of 2. And the chord changes that we're using here are the first 4 bars of There Will Never Be Another You. Let's play the swing 8th example. Let's go over to the grand piano and play a longer example. Make sure you listen for the swing 8th notes. The next core principle, number 2, is that we use 8-note scales instead of 7-note scales. We add a passing note for each of these scales to even out the bar, because of course there's 8 eighth notes in a bar. The passing note for a major 7th chord is the flat 5. The chromatic passing note for a half diminished 7th chord is the natural 6th. The passing note for a dominant 7th flat 9 chord, you might think it might be the natural 6th, but because that's the 3rd of the chord, we think of the passing note as the sharp 9 here. And then the passing note for a C minor 7th chord is the natural 3rd. Let's play these scales with swing rhythms. All right, let's demonstrate it on the grand piano. We're going to play the A and B section again of There Will Never Be Another You. Listen for the bebop scales. Principle number 3 is that we use chromatic passing notes and enclosures. Think about chromatic passing notes as bridging chord tones together, moving between notes of the scale and adding extra notes like a half step below the note. For example, if the chord tone is the 3rd of E flat major 7, think about the note that's a half step below that. Enclosures are notes that move above and below the destination note. For example, if we're thinking about the chord tone, the major 7th, you've got a half step above that and a half step below that, anticipating that note. Let's play the example. Let's go back to the grand piano and demonstrate this. The fourth chord principle of bebop is that we use chords and chord extensions to arpeggiate the chords to make great solos. For example, on the E flat major 7th chord, we're using the 3rd, 5th, 7th, and 9th of the chord. Then on the D half diminished 7th, the root, 3rd, flat 5, and flat 7. And then on the G7 chord, the 3rd, 5th, 7th, and then finishing off the scale at the top. Let's demonstrate this. Try to listen for all the arpeggios going up and down each of the chords. Make sure you stick around to the end because I'm going to give you a link to download the sheet music. The fifth chord principle is that we use blue notes, the flat 3 and the flat 5, from the blues scale. For an E flat major 7th chord, think about it like a C blues scale. For example, here is the flat 3 and the flat 5 of a C blues scale. Let's play the example. Okay, back to the grand piano to demonstrate more blue notes. The last chord principle, number 6, is to use bebop licks. Now, these licks are borrowed from various great players over time, people like Oscar Peterson, Bud Powell, and the like. Let's play a few of these licks. One more time, back to the grand piano. Let's incorporate more bebop licks into the tune There Will Never Be Another You. Let me put a link to the sheet music that we've been using in this tutorial. I'll put it up here in the corner. It's also in the description below. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And if you're looking for more demonstrations of bebop principles, I do it over a blues in this video.